guys, it's Lauren here, popping in today to share with you a fussy cut layout for the Hip Kit Club design team. Yep, you heard it, I've been challenged to do some fussy cutting. Now for most of you that know me, it didn't take much twisting of my arm to do this challenge, as I tend to fall back on fussy cutting a fair bit. So I'm here working with the beautiful September Hip Kit collection, and we've got some beautiful products from Pink Fresh Studio, and we have some beautiful products from Pink Paisley, and I think there's also a little dash of the crepe paper Willow Lane collection in here. When I was fussy cutting all these, as you can see I've already done it, and I cut it out of that beautiful Pink Fresh Studio Indigo Hills 2 collection cardstock. I had already fussy cut them because I was sitting in front of the TV and doing that. I was thinking about what I wanted this layout to sort of come together, and I thought I really just felt like playing nice and slowly with some mixed media products and creating a really pretty background using the beautiful elements from the colour kit, which had some shimmers sprays, a couple of sprays, and it also had some shimmers. I think it's called Wisteria Lane. It's like a little pot shimmers. It says shimmers, paints, shimmers. So the colour is Wisteria Lane. So I really wanted to play with that. I also wanted to have a little play with the cut file, one of the cut files for the September collection, which was a beautiful Happy Thoughts cut file. So I had cut that out, and I had the fussy cutting pieces there, and I wanted to play. So here I am, I've just got this beautiful I think it's called cotton candy spray there, and I'm just playing around with my background, mixing the colours. The beautiful pinks and the yellows make that nice orange colour, so I'm sort of getting 3 tones through there by blending those. So doing that while it's wet allows it to blend. As you saw, I had applied clear gesso to the back of my page. And the other interesting thing, which you can't really see here, is when you're using clear gesso and you're using a paintbrush which has really sort of thick bristles on it to apply the clear gesso, when you put your sprays on in the technique, just that bagging technique that I just did there, you can actually see some of the subtle lines through the paint there, so it really stands out. So even though my cardstock was that beautiful thick basil thick cardstock that came in the cardstock kit, I was able to sort of texture it up a little bit with by adding those bigger strokes through with that gesso on the background there. So it's just another way of adding a bit of texture there. Now as you can see, I've switched to the shimmers little pot there, and it has a different consistency, so it gives sort of a different effect when you're applying it. So it was a little bit harder for me to work, but in saying that, this is the fun part. This is the part where we just get to play with our backgrounds. As you will see in the end, I cover up a lot of the background, but the joy is in the process, and the joy is me creating this beautiful background and then turning it into something else. So how pretty does that look? If you can't really see it there, but it's shimmery and sparkly as well, which gave a little bit of a magic feel, especially for the couple of photos of my little girl that I'm going to feature on this layout. So the photo sizes that I'm using today are just 2 3x4 cardstock. 3x4 inch photos. Now, if you held up a 6x4 inch photo, which is a normal size photo, the 2 3x4s fit on that perfectly. So when I'm printing them in my local store or on my Canon Selfie, I just select a collage print and then select 2 up, and then add the 2 individual photos in there, and Bob's your uncle, it just prints out like one normal size photo, and then I just trim it in half and I get my 2 3x4 inch photos. So that's a really sort of handy tip to think about, especially when you're printing all your photos. If you've got lots of photos, it's a good way of getting 2 photos onto one photo, standard size photo, and it's a little bit more cost effective because it's only costing you the same price as a single print would. So here I am jumping into the beautiful pink paisley Auburn rub-ons. These are just stunning. They have a beautiful tone. They matched perfectly, the golds and the sort of the auburns and the browns and the olives matched perfectly with the background that I created, those colours. And I just wanted to sort of make the background a little bit more magical and mystical, and that's what I've been able to achieve by adding some little flower clusters here and there, some little love hearts kind of floating off into the atmosphere, and just adding those tiny little features. A lot of the time with my layouts, I don't spend a lot of time really just dreamily playing with the backgrounds like you're seeing me do here. My layouts usually take around an hour, whereas this one took a lot longer, and I actually just enjoyed the process of slowing down. This video is a little longer. I think it's sitting at around the 19-minute mark, so hang in there or just skip through the boring bits, I guess. But I was just enjoying the process, and even when it has been sped up, you can see that even sped up, my hands aren't going that fast because I was really just slowly enjoying this process, which was nice. The sort of the honeycomb cut file there was a really interesting one for me, and I'd seen others use it on their layouts, and I just thought it's a way of adding a bit of texture to the background. A difference, I usually just map my photos in lots of little layers to help them pop off the background, but this little honeycomb cut file was just perfect to add that little bit of different texture behind my photos, and gave particularly one photo a unique little border going on there. So as you can see, I've just mounted using scraps and bits and pieces off some of the Project Life cards available in the Project Life kit. I've just layered up some little bits and bobs to popping out the sides of the photos just to help raise it off that background and make sure that when we're scrapbooking, or even when these layouts turn out so beautiful, we're still drawn to the photo and we're still looking at the memory. So I've done a bit of a multi-layer dimension there. I've used just standard adhesive for the bottom photo, and then I've used foam adhesive for the top photo to give that little bit of raised dimension. And it also, that way also means it doesn't sort of take away from the bottom photo too much. So I'm just playing around with positioning, having a little bit of fun, delighting in these really cute little photos of my daughter. This is where she went off to a school show. The school doesn't often put shows on, but all the kids in all the years had been learning how to dance, learning how to do the waltz and the salsa and some hip hop moves. So each of the years popped up on the stage, and they had a bit of a modern twist to it. It wasn't sort of like a waltz like I think in my day where we waltzed around the floor. It was all done sort of in one spot. So it had a bit of a modern flair to the old waltz and the old salsa. But so each of the years got to jump up on stage and demonstrate the skills they'd learnt in a couple of dances. So Katie was very excited to share with her mum and dad her salsa moves and her waltz moves, which was just delightful to watch. So here she was, all dressed up, heading off to school to participate in this fun little concert that they had decided to pop on as a bit of a fundraiser to help our farmers who are experiencing a drought here in Australia at the moment. So it was a lovely fundraiser, a good cause, and what a delight to see all the children attempting these fun dances with the modern twist. So back onto the scrapbooking side of things, here I am just playing around with all those little fussy cut elements that I had cut out of that Pink Fresh studio paper. Just placing it around. This was actually a little trickier for me. As you can see, I'm just not too sure about things. I get there in the end, but I was having a little bit of a trouble with placement, and I think the reason being is that most of the time when I fussy cut elements, I usually have a couple of larger flowers that sort of form the basis of a main cluster, and then I drag just some smaller elements around the sides of it. But this cut file, that Happy Thoughts and where it was positioned, and it didn't sort of lend itself in a way to having a corner where I could build a really large cluster and do what I would traditionally do. So I was sort of thinking I want to try and border the photos a little bit and have that sort of French provincial, I don't know if it is, but I'm trying to sound fancy, I guess. And to have the flower clusters, like in France, well, what I imagine France would be like, because I've never been to France. There'd be flowers and vines draping all over the walls and the walkways of really old buildings and things like that. And that's what I had sort of in mind with this layout. I wanted to sort of drape all these gorgeous little clusters of flowers to sort of border my photos and this really sort of, girly title, which has these leaves sort of stemming off this title of Happy Thoughts. Once I had put the flowers out though, I realised that I completely was sort of losing the title and the cut file in amongst all the flowers. So what I came up with an idea is just to get my fine tip pen, which is like really super fine. It's like a 0.1, and just go around the edges of the cut file to really sort of pop that title a little bit so it doesn't get lost amongst all that prettiness and all those flowers. And as you can see, it's probably a bit tricky to see because I'm not very particular with this. There are times where I've gone off the edge or I've sort of not been even, but this is a good thing to point out in the sense of if you are wanting to do this, and it can be tricky because the font is quite thin, don't be too hard on yourself. Don't just trace around it. If your pen goes off the edge and it doesn't look, and it's sort of slipped off and put a line where you didn't want the line to go, don't be too worried about it, because when you pop it on the layout, you won't see it. You won't see the detail. It will all come together. And really, if you're really super upset about it, just cut off one of those gorgeous little flowers and pop it over that area. But what I encourage you to do is not be too tough on yourself. And I know some scrappers out there are, and they like everything just right. But I guarantee you, the little mistakes are often the ones that don't mean anything, and the layout is still as magical and it's still as amazing as if it wasn't there. So don't be too hard on yourself. Enjoy the process. So as you can see, I'm finishing off there, and already you can see just in the video how much that's popped, and you can really it really stands out. And look at that. And once it's gone from being completely lost to now popping off the page a bit. So my photos are popping off, my title's popping off, and then I realized I think I want that little honeycomb cut file to pop off a little bit too, and keep that consistency with my bordering throughout the entire layout. So super quick and easy tracing around those elements there. I'm using some foam tape now, sort of to pop it off, the title to pop off the page, so I can sort of weave my flowers in and around the cut file, and which sort of makes it a bit sort of blended in, but still giving it dimension. I don't know if that makes sense, but I really want to you want to make it as though it's incorporated as part of all those embellishments, that they're all meant to be there as one, and then your layout will start to come together. So with all my layouts, really simple, some fundamental techniques are bordering your photos, building your clusters, adding a punchy title, and you will have a layout coming together. It's those simple techniques that I find I fall back on for every layout, and 9 times out of the 10 I am really happy with my layout, and it's all come together and they all look really different. So here I am now, this is the kind of the fun part where you can really see your layout coming together. You've got a good feel about where you're going with it, what you want to do, and I was determined to get that big flower in there. But yeah, so it's coming together really lovely, and I'm really happy. I'm really happy about it. Then in the colour kit this September month, we also got a beautiful stamp set from, I think it's Vicky Booten. Vicky does wonderful, bold, dynamic embellishments and stamps. And this stamp set comes with a coordinating die set that punches out the flowers. So it's a really great set. And it also has these tiny, tiny little word phrases there. So there's 3 in the pack, and I just grabbed them, and I just wanted to add a little bit more mystical magic into the layout. And I've just done that by stamping out 3 lots of each of the words there. So you saw me, you apply the first layer, which will give you your dark title, and then the second 2 punches are getting lighter and lighter as the ink is coming off, but it's sort of fading it into the background. So I really wanted to just find ways to add that sort of bit of magic to it. I just want to keep playing with this layout, as you can see, and I'm adding and adding and adding, but I'm wanting to add a couple more rub-ons just to finish off. And I think off screen I add my journaling when I'd had a bit of time to just let it sit and work out what I wanted to write with it. So, but as you can see, it's coming together really well, and I'm really, really happy with it. There's a bit of a white space corner up there that still sort of gives me the gripes, but you know, I had a little bit of a play, and then at one point in my head I just had to say, right, stop, time's up, we're finishing it off. But I really was just determined to, you know, keep playing, but I had to stop. So I encourage you, with the challenge I'm setting you today, is to pull out your papers and do some fussy cutting, have a play with your background, and check out the Hip Kit Club and what that's all about, and come along. We've got a great Facebook group. We're really interactive. We challenges every week. You can really be involved, and we really want to see what you make, even if you're not a Hip Kit Club subscriber. We really, really want to, you know, get to know you. So thanks for watching. I know it's been a long one, but I hope you've enjoyed the process. Give me a big thumbs up and subscribe if you've liked my channel. Share it with your friends if you'd like to let them learn these skills. That would be really great for my channel. And take care, guys. Keep scrapping. Bye.